Oh, good morning. I think October 21st, 2019, Monday morning. Look like the sun's coming out right now. Pretty blue sky showing. It's been cool a little while. Uh, I think the wife said they're calling for some rain the next couple of days too. Of course, it wouldn't hurt because it's been dry around here for about 4 months. We've got a shower or two in the last week and a half or so, and it's been good. Of course, you can go out and look at the streams. You can't tell it, man, because the earth is just it's sucking up everything it can. It's just dry. It's dry, but thank the Lord we're getting what we're getting. At least it's well. I do know that it has put out one forest fire over here. About 20 miles from the house, or 15, something like that. And thank the Lord for that. It was burning, and the rain we got a couple of weeks ago put it out. So thank the Lord for that. I was thinking today, states, it was on the Fox News this morning, states pushing. See, it was led in California. Now there's two or three other states want to push and trying to push a legislation through that they're calling it fighting for human rights or civil rights or something. I don't know what that, but what it is, they're pushing the gay agenda. Now I got two or three things. If I don't forget them and they come out and I can get them across to you, I want to make a point to you. I want to make a very serious point to you. Back in the 70s and 80s, people frowned on him because he had this issue of his own that took place, and they just more or less turned off what he said. And it was Jimmy Swaggart, preacher, evangelist. They turned off what he said because of his own issues. Like it gave him an scapegoat from the words that he spoke. But he spoke truth. He spoke truth to the American people. He talked about, he said the gay publications or whatever of that time said they put it in their publications. We want to seduce your children. Do you know what the word seduce means? We want to be able to slightly maneuver and manipulate your children into our desire. We want to covertly slip into their virginity and destroy the innocence of their life. That's what it means when you're talking about we want to seduce your children. We want to covertly slip into their virginity and destroy the honor of their life. Okay? Well, you got to realize too, in these times, honor is a byword for a lot of people. It means nothing. Their heart, their mind, their conscience, their thinking, it's gone screwy. It's gone ape poop. Honor is a byword. Just like you getting up there among liberals and socialists in D.C., justice is a byword. The Constitution is a talking point when it agrees with what they want. When they have something, they're trying to hold on to something they want, the Constitution is relevant. But when you get off the platform of something that they're talking or pushing for, the Constitution is antiquated. It's outdated. It's just a byword for a liberal, lying liberal, a scheming socialist. The Constitution of the United States is just a byword. That's the way honor is to a lot of people. All right. Now, Swaggart had told it. Now this is 40 years ago or better. He said the gays were putting in their publications, we want to seduce your children. They wanted to covertly maneuver and work their way into the virginity or innocence of your children and destroy what honor is built up on that clean, pure individual. They want to screw up something clean. Now Lord will, I want to stress that because I want you to see something. I want you to know where these liberals and socialists, the gay, the LGBT, and all this stuff, I want you to know where all this stuff is going. Back in 1997, the wife and I was in Pittsburgh, PA. A young woman there was flown up on a jet from Charleston, West Virginia to PA. She's on a ventilator. Okay? They was just controlling her functions. They were controlling her functions. So things had built up in her lungs, fluids and stuff had built up. She was in bad shape. They flew her to Pennsylvania. It was my daughter. And they flew her up there to control it. The ICU intensivist that was in Charleston said he had to be out of town, and he wasn't comfortable with leaving her there. He wanted to ship her to Pennsylvania, to, I think it was Children's of Pittsburgh, or Pittsburgh Children or something. But anyway, he wanted to fly her up there, so they flew her up there, and they kept her there. And what they was doing, they was working with her body because her lungs was full of stuff. Her hemoglobin had dropped to something like 4.0, 4.2, something like that. You know, she was in bad shape. But anyway, this is my point. The wife and I were sitting, listen, we were sitting in the waiting room of this hospital. It's late in the night, and there was this, she was a young black woman. I mean, I don't know, she looked to be 15, 16, okay. Out of nowhere. Now I'm trying to get you to realize the intents of what evil is willing to do, because I'm going to bring up another point or two. I want you to realize what lies in behind all this garbage of LGBT and liberals and socialism and all this stuff. You need to realize this. This is essential for the very health, safety, and welfare of your families and bloodlines. You have to know what lies in behind all this covert action going on. This young black woman, pretty woman, she comes up right in front of the wife and I. We're sitting in there. We were praise and worship leaders in the church we were attending at the time, and we just come up there. God had already given us a word that the daughter was going to be all right, but we need just to keep our minds concentrated on Him. So we had that peace in God that we knew the daughter was going to be okay. But this is the thing. We were sitting there in the waiting room, and this pretty young woman comes up in front of us, and out of nowhere, just pow, there she is. Older men like young women. Out of nowhere, this young woman comes up with the attitude that she has the right to intrude into our personal lives with filthy intention, filthy, intrusive actions and words. She has the right to come up and just shove herself into my face and into my wife's face as if she was a goddess and everything had to bow unto what was going on in her mind. Older men like young women. Listen, they're pushing legislation through the country. They're trying to force this down the throat of this nation, the attitude that the gay liberal agenda can be forced upon anybody, that you're going to accept it whether you like it or not. The gays have put it in their publications. We want to seduce your children. Older men like young, tender women or girls. She might have said girls. I don't remember. It might have been girls. But, all right, okay. Now I want you to listen. There's a picture in the Bible. Everybody's heard of Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot and the pillar of salt, his wife, and all this stuff. But now this is what I want you to realize. This is the point I want you to realize. The angels of the Lord are making their way towards Sodom. They swing by Lot's place. Lot recognizes them, and they get into this conversation. Lot says, now, Lord, if there's good people over there, you're not going to destroy it. No, if there's this many, I won't destroy it. If there's this many, I won't destroy it. If there's this many, I won't destroy it. They go down through a little stage, down to numbers, and the Lord said, if there's good people, I won't destroy it. So the Lord goes over there with these angels, a couple angels. They go over there, and they go into town, and the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, they were given to lust and just all kinds of stuff, okay? They were given to a lot of things. But he goes over there, and the people of the town, they see these fair-looking men, fair complexion, soft, fair-looking men, clean. Now, what you're actually looking at, you're not looking at fair flesh as being virginity looking, or being, something actually tender or whatever. But what you're actually looking at in the angels of the Lord and the Lord is the fact they were looking at the purity, the glory that radiated from their countenance. That's what these people were seeing. They weren't looking at virgins, okay? That wasn't what they were seeing. They were seeing something clean. They were seeing something innocent. They were seeing something something special. They were looking deeper than virginity. They were looking deeper. They were seeing something else. The people, if that corrupt mind and thinking, were seeing something even more special, even more clean than a virgin. Okay? All right, now pay attention. Pay attention. They go to Lot's house. Lot brings them into his home. The Lord and the angels. He brings them into their home, and the people of that home, the story goes on, the Lord tells Lot, you got to pack up, get out of here, man, we're going to smite this place. Okay, but the people of the town come in and start banging on the door. Open up. Lot maybe says, what do you want? We want the fair-looking men that come into your home. No, wait now, brothers, you don't need to be touching these people here. This is not right. Banging on the door. Send out the fair women. We want them. We want to know them. We want to bust that clean thing within them. They're upon them. We want to destroy that thing that looks so inviting, that looks so tender, that looks so pure. We want to destroy it. Send them out. No, wait now. Lot says, no, wait. Listen, I've got two virgin daughters. They're young, they're tender, they're gorgeous, they're perfect. They're perfect. They're perfect. You can have them. You can take them and do what you will, but don't touch these righteous men. Give us the men. Give us the men. Give us the men. Are you getting the picture here? By now you should be understanding what I'm talking about. People, the limit and the level of the degradation that the LGBT, the transgender, the gay, the liberal, the socialist, all this friggin' rot, the limit and the level of degradation they're going to take you to is unreal. It's unreal. It's literally vile. Literally vile. They want you to accept their trashy attitude, this vulgar attitude, this ugly attitude as the norm. They want you to accept this filth that resides within them as the norm. You've got to realize how ugly things will get if these people get their way. There's a lot of things going on that in the long run, at the end of all this stuff, if it gets to by with what it wants, life in America will be destroyed. The American dream will be destroyed. Truth and honor and justice will be destroyed. Everything that attaches itself to something decent will be destroyed. These people are ugly to the core. They are ugly to the core. Listen, they made a choice to do what they're doing. They made a choice. This thing, it all knots up together. You know, I hate to go back and rehearse old stuff. I mean, I would rather be able to talk to you something fresh and new, even though it might be disturbing or disagreeable to your ears or your opinion or your attitude or your conscience, whatever. I'd rather be able to stay it out, but you have to realize this is not new. This is not new. This is not new. This has been going on for thousands of years, ever since creation. When the devil went and whispered into Eve's ears, coaxed her into taking of the fruit, and she went and talked to Adam, and he took off, and the problem started. Things went sour from that point on. It's not new. There's people in this nation that are Marxists, they're socialists. If the ends are the same, they are the same. I don't care who tells you what this, it doesn't matter. If the ends are the same, they are the same. Barack Obama painted the White House gay pride colors, with the lights and stuff. Hillary Clinton said her mentor was one of her old bosses, her old teachers or professors. They were Marxist. If we can destroy the morals of one generation of Americans, we can take the nation. Okay? If we can drive out the honor, we can drive out the decency, if we can drive out the respect of right and wrong, if we can remove the knowledge of good and evil, if we can do this stuff, we can manipulate them, we can screw with them any way we want till we own them. This is not new, people. This is not new. The attitude that is being pushed behind these agendas is vile. It's ugly. It's treacherous. It's divisive. It's ugly. But they want to push this stuff through, people. Why? Because of the filth that resides in their own mind. Because of the filth that resides in their own heart. We want to seduce your children. We want to manipulate. We want to covertly slip into the heart and mind of your virgins until they are no longer innocent, until they are no longer clean, until they are no longer pure. We want to seduce your children. We want to work our will upon them until they are ours. It's not new. Older men like young girls. Up out of the blue. Just steps up in our face. Right in our face. She's standing here. We're sitting in seats in a waiting room. Older men like young girls. Just an open, blatant attack against something decent. Something honorable. Satan had spoken to this girl, this young woman, and she come up in this blatant burst of attack against honor, against truth, against godly moral uprightness. You have to realize, people, the garbage that lies in behind this liberal thinking. The garbage, the filth, the dangers, the degradation, the disgrace, the pain, the tears, the agonies that lie in behind these people's words. Now, I've read this before, but I'm going to read it again to let you know I'm not blowing into the wind, okay? I've already given you examples, people, of why this is going on, why this stuff is bad. I'm trying to get you to the point that you realize you've got to get away from these people. They have to be driven out. This liberal garbage can poop sucking agenda has got to be driven out. We cannot satisfy ourselves with just pushing it back. It's got to be driven out. Listen, if you don't drive it out, one day it'll win. One day it'll win. It happened to Israel time and time again. He'd get a leader in there, and God would place a leader in to try to maneuver Israel back into where His blessing could be upon the Jews, the Israelites. He'd get them straightened out and get them going real good. But there was one thing wrong. He put these leaders in, but what did it say? The Bible says they would not remove the high places. The thoughts of the minds of these people that thought they could equal themselves with God, that they could deny and reject the Word of God and the will of God, that they could let this stuff ramble and rage in their minds. They would not remove that. And the poop would come back again. They'd come back again, Israel would go into sin, and they'd be drug off into slavery and bondage again. Over and over and over. This stuff has got to be driven out. If it's not driven out, this liberal attitude, this godless and immoral trash, if it's not driven out, people, the day will come. I promise you, on the words of this book, I promise you, if it's not driven out, the day will come. Your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren will cry. They will cry. And many will curse you because you did not resist the attitude of godless, immoral, liberal thinking. They will curse you because you did not resist it. The day will come, they'll own you. Now listen, this is liberal attitude. All right, now I'm going to start with verse 5 because this is where God got my attention after 2012 election. I'm going to start there, but I'm going to stress verse 6. Well, I need to stress it all, but verse 6, because verse 6 I'll stress today, but I'm going to read verse 5. The vile person will no more be called liberal. The vile, now listen, the vile, the ugly, the deceptive, the treacherous, the filthy, the corrupted person will no longer be called liberal. Will no longer be called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful, nor the fool said to be bountiful. The fool said in his heart, there is no God. Now listen now, this is the part I want to stress to you. For the vile person, the liberal person, will speak villainy, his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. The vile person, the liberal person, will speak villainy. Villainy, okay? His heart will work iniquity. He'll conceive. He will conceive vicious things in his heart. He'll ponder. He'll crave. You know, you can have thoughts that are wrong. They can be misleading, deceptive. They can be treacherous. But until those thoughts start getting into your heart and they seed your heart, and then those thoughts begin to seed the cravings, the desires, the lust, the greed, the hatred, the ugly things that's portrayed on that's pushed out against others. Until they get in your heart, they're just thoughts. They're just thoughts. They can be cut off by the name of the Lord and righteousness and worship unto God. Those thoughts can be cut off. But once you let them get into your heart, once they get into your heart and they seed, and they in your heart, your life, your will and your desire begins to lust and want and crave those thoughts. Once that starts, it's iniquity. The sin has taken hold. The ravaging, hoarding attitude of the devil has taken hold. Okay? That's iniquity. The vile person will speak villainy. His heart will work iniquity. The seeds, the ugly seed. It's like a... Well, I'm just going to try to paint you a picture. I mean, this is not going to be near as ugly as what I'm talking, but I'm just going to paint you a picture. Let's say you put... Just say you put out a rose garden or some rose plants, and you're looking for these big red roses. The wife, man, we planted a rose bush out there. Last year. It was last year. She had red roses, man. They were that big around. I'm serious. Huge roses, man. Huge, beautiful, gorgeous red roses. Gorgeous. One particular stood out. I mean, it was like this. Big old red rose. But then let's say you put out a rose. Or let's say you want to grow some prize roses. And you get out there and you work these roses, and everything's looking good. Man, the plants are gorgeous and they're doing awesome. And, well, maybe morning glories. Let's say a morning glory starts to grow in that rose bed. Morning glories start popping up. Morning glories are a friggin' nightmare, man. Once they get started, they're a nightmare. We've had them in a garden down here, our vegetable garden before. Oh man, they were unreal. I mean, the roots grow deep, and by the time you dig a morning glory up, you've done destroyed your garden. you might as well forget it, because the roots will go that doggone deep, man. They're like these old these old bee weeds. They call them Missouri bee weed or something. They're a nightmare. Now you're trying to grow these beautiful prize-winning roses, and here you got these plants starting to grow up in your flower bed and your morning glories. Well, it wouldn't take much to get to those that want to grow them to realize this is really bad, because the time you got down into the root of this morning glory and you go digging deep enough to dig out the whole root, you've pretty well destroyed your flower bed. You've disturbed the roots of this rose that was looking beautiful. For those that do a little bit of gardening, I'm not grand at it, but I play with it. They understand it. Now this is what this is saying. His heart will work iniquity. His heart will work in hidden things that have intentionally implemented itself into functions, and it will destroy the things that are going on around it. His heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy. The morning glory has some pretty little vines, has some pretty little bloom come out on it and stuff. But for a gardener, it's deceptive. It's deceptive. Oh, it looks good. You could let them grow in your flower, in your rose bed. It looks good. But look what's going to happen as this morning glory progresses. You're going to watch your rose. You're going to watch your rose. The growth will slowly start dying out. And that morning glory, it's going to grow up that old rose vine. It's going to get up there, and before you know it, you got these roses starting to bloom and starting to come out. And this morning glory, the vine's going to shoot up through the petals, and you're going to watch the bloom on those roses go getting squeezed right out. The morning glory has some pretty blooms, but it's a deceptive plant. The vines go deep. The vines go deep. His heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and he will speak error against the Lord. His words are seditious. His words are treacherous. His words are treasonous. His words attack the goodness. His words attack the glory of the rose. He's called the Rose of Sharon, but his words attack the rose. His deception attacks that gorgeous red rose. He'll speak error against the glory of God. He will speak error against the goodness and the righteousness of God. He'll speak things out of the ugliness, the treachery of his heart, out of that iniquity. He will utter error against the Lord, to make empty the soul of the hungry. Do you realize that there are people all around us? There's 6 billion, I reckon, or so in the world right now. There's people all around us that are wanting more than what they see. There's people that are poor. There's people that are middle class. There's people that are rich. But in the midst of these groups, there are people there. In the midst of these groups, there are people in each group that they look at life and they say, boring. There's got to be more. There's got to be something that will satisfy. There's got to be something that will give me peace, that makes me feel like life is worth living. There's got to be something. This can't be all of it. To make empty the soul of the hungry. This soul, people, the soul is deeper than your desires. It's deeper than your wants. It's deeper than your needs. It's deeper than your opinions. It's deeper than everything you got. The soul of a man is the very core of a person. That person is created in the image of God, in the likeness and the image of God. That person has a need within their life. They have a need. They need to be connected. They need a connection to where they come from. They need a connection to who they are. They need a connection. God is that connection. He will make empty. He will. Let's see. He says he will. He will make empty the soul of the hungry. He will put that person's soul, the treachery, the vile treachery of the liberal thinking, will shut off. Listen, it will cut off the connection to a glorious God if they possibly can. They might not realize it. They may be ignorant of what they're doing, but they are a vile, vicious disconnection from the need to the resolving, from the need to the fixing, from the need to the feeling. Liberal action is a satanic driven agenda. I know some of you, it's going to blow your little mind when you start thinking about God and Satan and all. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. That is the truth. These people are attacking the righteousness of God. They're openly coming out, more and more people. They're more and more openly coming out and actually speaking against the righteousness of God, the goodness of God, the presence of God, the knowledge of God. They're doing it more and more. If you're not hearing it, it's because you're listening to the wrong people. The wrong people won't tell you everything. Listen, liberal television and stuff, they don't tell you this stuff. They don't fill you in on what's going on. They tell you what they want you to hear. He will make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. His words will slip into the mix. His words will slip. I can attach it to something what the Lord had said in the New Testament, in which I may do it. But his words will slip into the mix, and it will cause the words of assurance. It will cause the words of faith. It will cause the words of that preserving words. He will cause the words of strength to become weakened. He will throw words in that will weaken the faith. He will throw words in that destroy the resolving of things. The liberal thinking attitude is treacherous. It is not good in any way, shape, or form. People, the battle going on today is not Republicans and Democrats. It's not. The battle going on today is right versus wrong, good versus bad, truth versus lie. I'm trying to read to you and get you to understand conservative thinking is a more honorable, truthful avenue of thought. Realizing that there are boundaries that will secure actions, that will secure just moral legal actions. There are words and actions that will keep you alive, that will give you a voice in a courtroom, that will give you a voice at the polls, it will give you a voice to you can make your own choices. But it's an individual thing that has to be realized. This is not a congregated thing. This is a thing that is an individual thing. It has to be taken hold of individually. That truth, that honor has to reside in me, in you. If it doesn't reside there, then the whole group will go sour. We have to do it as individuals, and then after we secure truth and honor within ourselves, then we must reach out to embrace those that will walk with us. Because if we don't congregate together once we've been secured, if we don't congregate together, the liar, the thief, the cheat, the murderer, the rapist, the manipulator, the deceiver, they win. They win. If we don't pull together in truth and honor and see that justice is actually upheld, the pervert wins. The pervert wins. And if a pervert wins, I promise you, man, your children, your grandchildren, they're going to cry. They're going to cry. So what you see is the thinking behind the LGBT, the gays and stuff. It's a vile, vicious, seductive attitude that will steal the very innocence and the honor of your families and your bloodlines. That's what these people are pushing. We want to seduce your children. We want to covertly slip in to the virginity of your children and destroy the honor. That's what they were saying. That's what Jimmy Swaggart was talking about. We want to seduce your children. Now, I told you I was going to try to tie things together. See, all this stuff, Marxism, that's Marxism. That's not just gays, that's Marxism. Marxism is the same thing. If we can destroy the morals of one generation of Americans, we can take the nation. It's the same friggin' garbage can thinking. That's what's going on in these Marxist minds, in these socialist minds. That's what's going on. It's a treachery. Eve, if you eat of this fruit, you'll become as smart as God. But what there was one little thing there he neglected to tell her. Well, just like his FISA warrant, they'd spend $9 million to get an investigation going started against Trump to have him removed from office. What they shoot for, but they start this $9 million, and they refused. They didn't. They sort of neglected to tell this FISA judge, well, the Clintons and the DNCs paid $9 million behind closed doors to get this done. We're not going to tell him, this FISA judge, that we paid $9 million to get this lie printed up. Eve, if you eat of this fruit, you're going to be as smart as God. But see, he neglected to tell Eve that he was the serpent kicked out of heaven down to the earth because he thought he could kick his heels up against the one true, righteous, holy God. Eve, I got my butt kicked out of heaven because I was done ugly things. He neglected to tell Eve the same thing these DNC and Clintons neglected to tell the FISA judge. The Satan neglected to tell Eve when he told her she'd be as smart as God. He neglected to tell her, Eve, I got my butt kicked out of heaven. The same thing. It's like, he neglected to tell Eve, now I got kicked out. Now Eve, if you eat this fruit, it's going to set you at odds with God, and well, the garden may be history for you. He didn't tell her that. He didn't want her to know everything. He didn't want Eve to know everything. He didn't want Adam to know everything. And when all's said and done, their bags are packed. They're trudging out of the garden, leaving the garden, and as the angel put at the gate with a flaming sword, and he would not let Eve and Adam back in the blessing. Okay? It's the same thing. It's the same thing going on up there right now. I'll put my marker back in there because I like to refer back to this when I get to talking about this. Because without I stay in the Word and I stay into where what God has shown me and told me, then if I neglect to go back to that, then I can be brought at fault. So I want to put my marker back in here because I like having it handy. I like having it handy. But the thinking, look what's going on up there right now in D.C. Trump, he campaigns on getting us out of endless wars. This is back in 15, 16. We don't need to be in these wars with no end. We got no business there. We need to get our soldiers out. He campaigns on that. And well, he pulls what few Americans we have over there on the Turkey-Syria border. He pulls them out, and people go screwy. Oh God, it's going to go bad. It's going to go bad. He ends up telling Turkey, listen, if you go in our attack, I'm going to put sanctions on you. I'll crush your economy. Don't go over there making war. But now look what's going on. They signed a ceasefire. I believe it was for 5 days. But look what's going on now. The Democrats and some Republicans, I've told you the swamp is not just the Democratic Party. There's some swamp in the Republican Party too. People, this friggin' swamp's been growing for 75 years. This is not a little thing. Remember, some of you could remember back, 5 years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I told you, when this thing it ever gets opened up and justice is served and all the names and the things that's taking place is opened up, it's going to be bigger than our little minds will comprehend. Okay, I don't know this stuff on my own, people. I'm not that smart. I'm a four-eyed ignorant hillbilly. I'm not that smart. It has to be coming from somewhere else. Names are popping up. But now look what's going on. Trump pulls our soldiers out. He gets a ceasefire signed. They declare a ceasefire, maybe for a few days. It may end up more. But look what's going on. You got Pelosi and 8, 9, 10, 12 more people going over there in the Middle East, sticking their butts in something that they don't have the information that Donald Trump has from his military sources and different things. They don't know all this stuff, everything. They know some, but they don't know near what's going on over there that Trump does. But they're going over there to stick their pervert butts in the way. They'll go over there and they'll try to undermine our president, his power, his resources, his intelligence. He'll go over and it's hard to tell. They've been over at war. People that are Islamic, they've been at war for thousands of years. Trump's trying to get some kind of peace going over there, but before he gets in, they got this continual rage going on over there, and these congressmen and stuff, it's the norm. Well, they got this going over there. It must be the way. If we can keep it down to this, maybe it won't be this. But now Trump gets over there and he gets it down to this for now. For now, down to this, putting it right there in that one little area. And they're going over there to undermine him. Doing a political game. Undermining a president that, from when he came into office, he actually done what he said he would do. And he's accomplished things. He actually done the things that he campaigned on. And he's accomplished things. The economy's up. Jobs are up. Unemployment's down. Things are looking better. Our police are loved once again. Justice has an opportunity to come to the forth and come to the front and actually work. Instead of having these prosecuting attorney said, well, we're not going to enforce these laws. We're going to, all this freaking junk. Justice actually has opportunity to come to the front and work. They're over there trying to undermine what he's doing. Listen, they're liberals. They're socialists. To what degree or what level they're willing to push and work, I don't know. But this is the thing we know. We already know that Nancy Pelosi is an uncouth, unjust person. Nancy Pelosi is a conniving pervert. We already know that. We know that. They're over sticking their butt over. They're trying to figure out what. Listen, you say, well, that you can say anything you want, people, but they've pushed this garbage now for almost 3 years ever since he got into office. They even started a lie to try to have him removed from office. Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi got into another lie. After their first one didn't work, they started another one about a phone call. Started another lie. I don't care what you say, people. Donald Trump works. Donald John Trump, our duly elected president of these United States of America, works. He's doing a good job. If you don't agree with it, maybe what you need to do is wash the perversions out of your heart and mind. He works. I want to get off here. I just, if I could tell you everything that I've seen and I've heard, and the things that I know that has agreed with what God has shown me and told me, I could probably sit here for hours and spit stuff out into your ears. But it all doesn't come to mind. It just get too long and you wouldn't sit through it anyway. But as hard as it may seem to be when I talk about perversions reigning in your hearts and minds, and you need to get your lips off a pervert butt and all that stuff, as hard as it may get you to believe, I do love you. I don't want to see you in tears. I don't want to see your family in tears. I don't want to see your bloodline in tears. I want truth and honor and grace and mercy and decency and justice and everything that can possibly be good for you and your family and your bloodline. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for you. It's just like I made a statement. Here I go again. I made a statement about Elijah Cummings, his family and friends. You got people up there that are crying. They knew him personally. They are crying. He passed away. Death is not a good thing. The only thing it actually needs to die is sin. But death is not a good thing. But Elijah Cummings has held hands to liberal thinking. And he ran his office within that. I didn't want to see Elijah Cummings die. I would rather he be voted out by his people. He'd been removed. I'd rather see an honorable, truthful, decent, conservative leader step into his position, and that person be able to be a blessing to Baltimore and Maryland. But that liberal thinking needed to be removed from that position. I'm sorry, that liberal thinking needed to be removed from that position. If they can put a good, honorable conservative in there now, a truthful person, Maryland and Baltimore and the U.S. will be stronger for it. I hate to see his family and bloodline cry and their friends. I really do. Like I said, death is not a good thing. The only thing actually needs to die is sin. But I hope you find grace and mercy, favor in God's eyes. I hope the blood of Jesus Christ is one day welcomed upon your life, and He just washes you with His blood. Once the washing has taken place and the Spirit of the Lord comes into your life, man, it's like taking on, oh geez, it's like a flower shut up in the dark, given sunlight. And you just watch it, that flower, it'll begin to come to life, and it'll break forth. It's amazing. It's really amazing what grace does. The grace of God. It's really amazing what it does to an individual's life. It's like you've heard people say, it's better felt than told. Love you. Have a good one.